Excellent. Well, it's wonderful to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here and have a conversation with you.
Absolutely. So let's get into your life of being an energy practitioner and a coach. And I want to begin with something that shifted so many things. 5 years ago, this pandemic, we were about a week into it, figuring it out, so many unknowns. Hopefully, we're better now than we were then. Ultimately, how did you make it through that time period? And how has it influenced the way that you do work and things now?
Yeah. I mean, that was definitely a busy time for me because everyone was dealing with so much anxiety and stress, and that's really what I help people with. So I had a lot of those tools that I was utilizing myself to, keep me grounded and help myself through it, so I could show up as my best self for my kids and my husband and my community.
So let me ask you this. If we got to the essence of what you do on a daily basis, I'm going to do it by putting you in front of a bunch of kids. Sixth graders, career day. The kid in the back of the room that's curious is like, hey, what do you do for a living? How do you answer
Yeah.
them?
Well, I help people feel good in their bodies, and I help them to acknowledge their emotions, because a lot of the time when you feel an uncomfortable emotion, you don't like it and you try to pretend like it's not there and push it away. And the work that I do helps people to really allow themselves to feel those emotions so that they can move through them and feel better in their bodies.
So what did you want to be when you were in the sixth grade? What was your dream life?
Back then, I think it was that I wanted to be a lawyer, but that was probably because that was what my mom was was
Uh-huh.
feeding me, not because that was what I really wanted. But yeah, or a fashion designer. I think that was one that I really wanted at a young age.
So how did this happen? Take me back to your childhood. What were the elements and foundational pieces that have helped you become a coach and help people to get to a better place in their lives? What seeds were planted?
Yeah. Well, so before I got into this work, I was in marketing and, very busy corporate job. And I think even as a kid, I was always a little bit anxious. I always had anxiety, and it was something that I just dealt with. And as life goes on and life is lifing, things happen, and my anxiety started to get worse, and it really kind of hit a tipping point when when we got word that my husband was going to deploy again,
Yeah.
and I started having panic attacks. And it was really my own journey of trying to find ways of making myself feel better naturally that led me down this path where I was introduced to a variety of different healing modalities, and ultimately went on to get certified and in them so that I could share them with other people.
So who's been an inspiration for you to get into this line of work and to help people? Who's been that hero for you?
Interesting question.
Hmm.
I think there's been lots of people. I think ultimately my grandmother was really my hero. She was always so good at making me feel better. And now that I have an opportunity to teach people different tools to help them feel better, it's truly an honor.
So coming out of that corporate marketing world, which is intense and hardcore, and getting into this line of work where you're genuinely helping people, it's like two different worlds.
Mhm.
What was the moment that you knew that this was the right decision? Was it a twinkle in someone's eyes? Was it a good client experience? What was that threshold you crossed where you knew this was your like raison d'etre, so to speak?
Yeah. I mean, I think I knew that this was the path that I wanted to go down when I had such a positive response to it, and
Yeah.
I started to physically feel better, mentally feel better, emotionally feel better. And for me that was like I wanted to learn more. I just wanted to learn more and more. And the more that I learned, the more that I wanted to share it with people. And then when I started, just naturally sharing it with people, and people started to have a similar response of, oh yeah, this is a little weird, but I do feel better. I don't know why. I was hooked. I was like, okay, I'm going to get certified so that I can really share this at a level um, to help people more fully, and that's what I've done.
So, people have to get to a point in their lives where they decide they need help. And in that process, there's a risk. There's risks that you take. When you look at your career and life, what's the biggest risk that you've had to take?
Yeah, I think ultimately deciding to shift gears and work for myself, that was a big risk. And I'm lucky that I had the support of my family to help me do that. But that was scary because not only financially scary, but also this line of work is different, and for people that are not familiar with it, there can be a lot of judgment. And I think I dealt with fear around that of what other people thought, and now I'm at a place where that doesn't faze me.
Sure.
But back then, yeah, that was scary.
So if there's anybody out there that's on the fence right now, they've listened up to this point, they're curious, maybe they've thought about it, what would you tell them to pursue and move forward and get help and look into it?
Yeah. What I tell people is that when you get what I call soul nudges, and that might be, you read an article and it intrigues you and you want to explore learning more about that topic, or you have a friend who mentions it to you, or you see something in a movie, right? These little things that are almost like a little tap on the shoulder, like, hey, hey, and that light goes off like, oh, I'm interested in that. And a lot of the time we can kind of like ignore that and not go take the class or sign up for, an online thing around it. But give yourself that gift. So if you're curious, whatever the topic may be, whether it's a healing modality or a type of, exercise, whatever it is, follow that curiosity and give yourself that gift, because it may just be the thing that, lights something up within you, and you don't know where it's going to take you.
So I'm curious if you could meet anybody in the world right now, whether it's in your field or somebody that's inspirational or fascinating, and you can spend some time with them, ask some questions that might help you in your journey. Who would you love to meet and talk to?
Ooh. Um, Well, I'm a big fan of Brene Brown.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would. I always learn something new when I listen to her speak. So I think just being around her and getting to have a one-on-one conversation would be amazing, and I'm sure I would learn something
Oh yeah.
with all the, you know, all the information that she has about why people act the way they do and what that means. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
fascinating.
So the one thing I would think in your line of work of helping people get to this better place is you got to find some kind of balance. There tends to be these lopsided things where it's usually lopsided because people are working and they're focused on business. And you know that coming from marketing and corporate. How do you balance it out? What motivates you to get up every day? Because you got to dip into heavy stuff helping people. You got to get into their worlds and sift through these things, but you also have a soul and a life. How do
Mhm.
you balance that and do it all to the best of your ability?
Yeah, I think a big part of that is having my own practices. So having a meditation practice, having a tapping practice, taking time for myself to do the self-care, so that I can work through my own stuff, so that I can hold space for other people. I think it's so important that we all do our own work, and really prioritizing that has been important for me.
So if you were to have a dream tonight, and you ran into the 18-year-old version of you, you can give that young version of you getting ready to charge into the world some advice based on this life you've led, the wisdom you've accumulated. What advice would you impart on that younger version of you?
uh, to let go of all the worries about what other people are thinking. I
Yeah,
think I think that really, that held me back then, to really just go for it. Put the blinders on, do what you want to do. Don't worry about what your parents think. Don't worry about what your friends think. Just follow those soul nudges. They're not gonna, show you the wrong way. It's gonna lead
sure.
you exactly where you're supposed to go.
What's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Ooh, best advice. These are some good, juicy questions.
Yes.
Best advice I've ever gotten. Again, I'll probably go back to my grandmother. She was a really important person in my life, and I think one of her phrases that she would go to a lot is "This too shall pass,"
Yeah,
and just knowing that whatever you're dealing with right now, you will move through it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So let's say you walk into a room of all of the clients that you've had and all of the people that have worked with you in a business capacity. And you go through that room of people and walk up to a podium and you can tell them one fun thing about you, one fun story, one fun fact, something that would humanize you, something they wouldn't know about you that would be fun to tell them. What would you tell that room?
Oh my goodness. What would I tell them? I don't know if I had a room full of all the people that I worked with, that would, I mean, that just you saying that, I was like, oh, that's so exciting. Um, I don't know what I would tell them
What? How
about my,
about this? What was the first concert that you saw? Are you a music fan?
yeah, the first concert I ever saw,
First concert you ever saw?
Alanis Morissette.
Oh wow, how was that?
It was good. It was really good.
So was that like in the whole height of Jagged Little Pill?
Uh-huh, it
Yeah.
was back then. And then or that one of my favorite concerts, which would probably be a surprise to many, was an Eminem concert that I saw at Jones Beach.
Wow.
Never experienced anything like that.
What year was that?
What year was that? That was probably 2000-ish, 2001
And
maybe.
that would have been at the height of his powers then. It would have just been
Yeah,
crazy.
the crowd, the energy of the crowd is what really sticks with me, and how I mean, everyone was singing, yeah, that
That's
was a
cool.
wild concert.
That's
Yeah.
totally cool. So, of all of these things that you've accomplished and evolved into and become in your life, what are you the proudest of?
I'm the proudest of being a mom and my kids and my relationship with my kids, and um, really them getting to see me do work that I love, and how that has impacted them. And I am really proud of that because of how, I grew up seeing my mom do a job that she was good at, but she did not like it. And it was
Yeah.
soul sucking to her, and how that impacted my relationship with her. And so it was very important to me that I do the opposite of that, because I was very aware of how that, how her work impacted my life. Um, and not to say that I am very grateful for everything that my mom did and how hard she worked, and but like I don't think she realized at the time how much, how hard it was on her. Seeing her come home crying, being unhappy after work impacted me. So being able to share my love of what I do with my kids is important.
Well, I mean, being a parent, it's like it's one thing to say it because they hear all this stuff being told them to them all the time, but it's another thing for them to soak in who you are. I
Yeah.
remember I finally quit smoking before I even got to a place where I was going to have my son. And I was like,
Mm,
there's no way he's going to see this happen. I mean, there's habits that have to go away. And when
yeah.
they see that, that's better than telling them. I mean, you can only say so much. And, I mean, my dad was a smoker and talked about how bad it was for a long time, but still, I saw that cigarette coming in and out all the time. So
Mhm.
it's,
Yeah.
but so let me ask you this. Everyone has a perception of you. We're all cast in different lights in our lives,
Mhm.
family, friends, clients, everybody that you've worked in a business sense, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Mm. I think I'm a good person who wants to help others, who is always willing to lend a helping hand. And I'm so grateful to the clients that I've worked with that have allowed me to hold space for them. Because it truly is an honor to be able to help people in that way. Yeah, I'm just someone who wakes up every day and tries to do my best.
So what's the best thing about living in Delaware?
Well, for me, the best thing is that it's not too far from the beach. Growing up on Long Island, I was always only like a 10-minute ride from the beach. And, for about 8 years, we lived in Virginia, like inland, and we were pretty far
Yeah,
from the beach. So being only an hour is quite a lovely thing in the summer.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to reach out, they got questions, they want to hire you, any of the good business, where do they go?
Mindshiftwithlauren.com, and you can learn all about the different healing modalities that I use. I have a free masterclass on my website, and yeah, I'd love to connect with people.
Okay, I will put all this in the show notes. Lauren, thank you so much. I appreciate your story and time. Best of luck with everything.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yes,
Appreciate it.
absolutely. Thank you. Hello, friends. Joe Dimino here. I just wanted to let you know that after 30 years or so, I have finally released my first book of poetry through the mighty Spartan Press here in Kansas City, Missouri. As the creator and host of both Neon Jazz Radio and the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino podcast, along with being a visual artist, I'm ready to embark on a new adventure and want you to to be a part of it. You can get a copy online via Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and actually on the streets in Kansas City at the great Prospero's bookstore off 39th Street. You can also visit joedimino.com for links to the book, to more poetry, and everything in my world, including paintings. Thanks for all of the love and support over the years, and please dig the words.